recording. That's all it is.
Okay, we're going to call to order the City Council special meeting with the Business Improvement District for Wednesday, December 7th, 2022. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, Jamie.
All right, City Council first, Jeff Elke.
Here.
Bill Leclerc.
Here.
Darrell Leclerc. Here. Tracy Coach.
Here.
Tim Petrie.
Here.
Jason Ring.
Here.
Bonnie Shmulus. Here. Scott Steckhauser.
Here.
Adam Ostrowski.
Here. And then we'll let Greg call this meeting.
We'll call to order the meeting for the Business Improvement District Board for the City of Two Rivers. Just noting there are a total of 7 members on that board. And Jamie, roll call, please.
Tom Christensen.
Indicated he would be unable to attend.
Okay. Teresa Conforce. Here. James Van Lannen Jr.
Here.
Joanne Kuba. Here. Bill Keel.
Here.
Marv Moore.
Here.
Amy McMillan.
So we have 5 of the 7 the bid board members here, so you have a quorum. Any action of the bid board to pass would require a vote of majority of the membership, so 4 or more would be affirmative. Are we missing anybody from, I'm sorry, I was
Council.
Everyone's here from council.
Okay, so we're the usual 5 out of 9 for any action of the council tonight.
All right, and we can skip over 4, seeing everyone is present. You don't have anyone that's going to join you via remote?
Nobody indicated a desire to do that.
Okay, then on to number 5, consideration of any business improvement district member. Actually, I just asked for that. Going on to 6, discussion, history, and purpose of the downtown area business improvement district in support of the Two Rivers Main Street program, and we'll dial it up to Greg to give
Okay, I thought this might be useful, but I'll do the Cliff Notes version of it. The city's downtown area tax incremental financing, RP, strike for that. The city's downtown area business improvement district dates back to 1996. There had been discussion following community strategic planning series of meetings that occurred in 1996, among other things, of pursuing a public-private partnership to revitalize the city's downtown business district. It was identified that affiliation to the Wisconsin Main Street program might be desirable, and the city might also consider a business improvement district as a mechanism for funding, something like that. There was, in the summer of '96, a petition presented, signed by a large number of downtown property owners, indicating a desire to have a business improvement district in support of a Main Street program or a similar program in Two Rivers. At that point in time, the community had not yet sought designation as a Main Street community, and it wasn't a given whether they would be selected. It was a competitive selection process. That said, the council gave direction for staff and the Plan Commission to proceed to develop a proposed business improvement district and the initial operating plan for that district. The Plan Commission in September of '96, following what we understand was proper notice to all of the potential parties, both the Class 2 notice in the paper and notice to each of the impacted property owners, held a public hearing, gave notice at that public hearing that date began with a 30-day time frame within which folks could petition if they were opposed to creating the district. No petition was subsequently presented. The council took action in November, December of '96, both to approve the plan and the initial operating levy as presented, and to appoint the first business improvement district board. It had 9 members at that time. Statute requires at least 5 members, a majority from all the property in the district. So the first levy, we use 2 terms tonight. The bid levy is the dollar amount to be collected by the bid. That results in a rate expressed as dollars per 1,000. So when we talk levy and rate, those are the 2 things. The original plan had in it, as required, the boundaries of the district. One of the handouts up there on the table, some of you might have picked up, is a map of the existing district boundaries and a listing of properties within that area. It also identified the method for the assessment to be levied, because you can do it different ways. From what I've seen, most communities, it's based on dollars per thousand, and it writes piggyback on the city's assessed values. Some cities do it by linear feet of street frontage. Some have the bid set a dollar amount and then back a rate out of it. But the rate here was established in the plan, the initial operating plan, to be expressed as dollars per thousand of assessed value, with a minimum assessment of $100 per property and a maximum assessment of $2,500 per property owner in the district. So if you were the owner of multiple parcels, collectively, the bill could never be over $2,500. The initial rate was set at $1.43 per thousand, and it's only changed once since then. I believe in 1998. Don't ask me why. It went from $1.43 per thousand to $1.42.5 per thousand, where it has stayed every year since. The express, again, like I said, the express purpose of the bid was to support the Main Street program's operating plan and budget or a like plan. That initial bid levy generated about $32,000 a year. In the early years of Main Street, the city, from general fund monies, matched it dollar for dollar. That commitment over time was reduced and has gone away. You have Main Street's budget, and Jason and other folks here from the Main Street Board can address that budget. But that's basically the background on the bid. I know some questions have been raised as to, look, what's this with using a special assessment district or a bid to support a not-for-profit corporation? You don't tax to support the Two Rivers Historical Society or the Lions Club or other things. But that statement is true, but the fact is it is permissible under state law to direct dollars from a bid or other public dollars to a not-for-profit entity that for an express public purpose. And Main Street's entire reason for being is downtown revitalization. Not every Main Street community in the state uses a bid for reasons maybe like those that led to discussion the other night in our meeting tonight. But 15, from what I can see, 15 out of approximately 30 programs do. Nearby examples would be Sheboygan Falls, Port Washington, creates another Fond du Lac. Yeah, so it's not an uncommon practice, and in fact, there are cities that have bid districts that support downtown redevelopment or downtown development organizations that aren't affiliated with the state Main Street program. You don't have to have that affiliation to use this funding mechanism. So that, hopefully that's helpful as a quick background. The bid board is appointed by city council. It is an entity of the city. It has to have at least 5 members, a majority of whom are property owners in the district. All 7 of the members of our bid board own businesses or property. In every case, they either personally or are part of a corporation or an LLC that owns property in the district. Two Rivers Main Street, again, is a 501c3. It is separate from the city. There is presently city representation on there. The Articles of Incorporation bylaws call for a city council member to sit on that board, and that's been the case since day one, and the city manager to sit on that 13-member board. So that's the basic lay of the land. Been in place for 26 years. Solely created for support of Main Street or a similar program. The revenue it represents is less than a third of the total Main Street budget, so it's far from being the sole source of funding. That's my not so quick history. Any questions?
Anyone have questions on history? Just the history. Okay, seeing none, let's circle around to number 7. And we'll take the discussions of actions taken at November 28th, 2022 bid board meeting first before we go to what happened on Monday.
And everybody should either have in front of them, or they're available on the table up there, copies of the Business Improvement District Board minutes from November 28th, and the backup material relative to Main Street's 2023 budget that was attached to that. I thought on item 7, this might be an opportunity for new board members to discuss the actions taken and the reasons for their support for the increase of the rate to $2 a thousand with the same minimum maximum I just stated, as opposed to the longstanding rate of $42.5. After that, there's the opportunity for discussion related to the council's. It would be appropriate, for a discussion of the action taken by council. One more thing I need to say, and then I'll back up here. I did talk with Attorney Bruce again, and just so there's a bright line on this, we do have 2 city council members who also sit on the board of directors of the 501c3 that is Main Street. As you know from last Monday's council meeting, the city attorney advised both Jason as the Main Street Program Director and Darla as the City Council rep on the Main Street Board. Per city attorney's advice, did recuse themselves from both the debate and the vote on the matter of the bid levy. I did clarify with Jack today that as far as answering questions or engaging in discussion of the proposed 2023 Main Street budget and what makes it up or what Main Street does, those 2 council members could feel free to do so. His bright line, if you will, was again the admonition not to engage in discussion, debate, or voting certainly on the action item for council tonight. And it would be appropriate again at the 2 members' discretion, but on advice of the city attorney, for them to recuse themselves from the meeting when we get to that point. And I'll try to call that out just in case anyone misses it. I think it's important we recognize that bright line for everybody's good. So, Mr. Chair, sorry about talking so much, but next up would be to discuss the action. Oh, I see, that's right. I'm sorry, I forgot to combine these into one. Actions taken at the most recent bid board meeting and then at last Monday's council. Mark, you did a wonderful job Monday night.
Well, so you want to summarize kind of what?
If you wish, or any other members as well.
Sure, I mean, to me, it's pretty simple. We met as a bid board, Main Street presented their basically kind of year in review. Along with that, we had a discussion about things that we thought Main Street was doing well, things that could be done better, just kind of brainstorm. In the end, Main Street proposed to us, to the bid board, a change from the 1.425 rate to the max of 2.0. We talked about that, talked about what that money would be used for, why it was needed, and the fact that if we were to approve something like this, that it would be something that is, obviously looked at every year. So we would have a year of seeing how that what the return on that increased investment would look like, and then in the next bid meeting next summer. Actually, we had talked about even having a halfway meeting sometime in the middle of the year to kind of review, see how things are going, again, be able to offer some feedback. And then knowing that in November or December, whenever the annual meeting would be, that we would again be able to reassess and decide if we thought that that extra money was used wisely, or if we should go back to recommend going back to the 1.425 or somewhere in between. So we voted unanimously, those of us that were there, that we thought it was a great time to make a small extra investment in Main Street. So we would see, I think we felt that with the new director, we had seen some improved communications. The wine walk event was very, very successful, probably the most successful event we've seen as far as that event goes. And we felt like things were going in the right direction, and that we wanted to see what we could do with a little, what Main Street could do with a little extra money this coming year. Also knowing that expenses, like everybody, expenses are increased. It's hard to do business, keeping the rate flat from what it's been for 25 years. And along those lines, kind of lost my train of thought there. The other part was we had last year's meeting had recommended that Main Street move its location from up here to a storefront. Thought that would increase visibility, just make people much more aware of the Main Street program, and help from a marketing perspective and all that. But again, along those lines, increased costs were associated with that. So again, we, at our direction, Main Street did that, incurred extra costs, and so I felt, again, we felt like that was a reason for a little bit of an increase in funding. So I guess in the end, we voted, the business owners that were there voted to, that we approved the 2.0, and that was gonna go to city council. I guess I'll leave it at that. That was pretty much what happened. I'll hold my thoughts for more discussion, I guess, later on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Having not been at the meeting, could I just ask that additional 10,000, is there anything specific that's earmarked for that's new or something that's added now? Or is that something that, costs have gone up and now, it's harder to pay the bills?
I think the discussion was kind of all the above, Jim. It was, some of it is offsetting the cost of the Washington Street storefront. Some of it is the fact that just costs in general are higher on everything than kind of they've ever been. And obviously, again, the levy has not been raised ever, essentially in the history of the organization. The third part of that was, especially after a couple of difficult years with COVID and some events and some revenue that may have been in the budget in previous years, maybe not, those budget targets not having been achieved based on the tough couple of years that kind of everybody, including Big Street's coming out of, that it felt like this was an opportunity to kind of stabilize that organization, give them a little bit better leg up. The discussion included conversation that the organization was pursuing a line of credit. Well, in my opinion, an organization like Main Street should not have to exist on a line of credit. So the thought was, all right, let's give them a chance to get themselves stabilized. As Mark indicated, it's a year-to-year approval. So give them a chance to right the ship a little bit, come out of what's been a difficult few years for the organization fiscally, and see where they stand a year from now. So that was kind of the conversation.
And I would add to there, you can see in the proposed budget, what exactly where that, the money is being budgeted. And one item that I think has been maybe brought up in public is that the executive director's salary is not any higher than it would have been in the past. That's, I think, something that's floated around that Main Street is going to raise the executive director's salary, and that's not the case. You can see in the budget that that's the case, that's not the case. So.
Has there been any consideration by the city council to match that increase and give the Main Street more opportunity to do good things for our downtown? I know in the past, historically, we've always put money towards our Main Street or towards our downtown. And I'm kind of sad to see that over the years that amount went from 20,000 to 15,000 to 10,000 to 8,000 to 6,000 and then to zero. So it just seems that, if we do believe in the Main Street, you show that that you really do believe in it. I would at least encourage you to talk about that. I don't know where that's going to take this conversation, but I think that's, from my point of view, as a business owner, if the businesses are putting all of the effort towards upgrading our downtown, the city can do that as well. So.
Yeah, I believe Greg said earlier that initially that bid amount was matched.
It was matched off.
100%. It was like 24,000, I think, at the very beginning.
32.
And
I'm pretty sure.
I can speak for most of the folks that are here on the bid board. I've spent 2 terms on the Main Street board over the years, and most of us have as well. That organization's always been on a shoestring. It is an organization that adds a tremendous amount of value to our community, and it's always been underfunded. And one of the things that I saw during the time on my involvement with the board was the city's, due to budget shortfalls, the city's removal of funding. So it's not even fair to say the organization is operating at the same level it's operated at since 1996. It's operating at essentially half that level right now. So in my opinion, the reason I voted to support the increase was we need to give this organization a fighting chance, and we haven't done that. So this is an opportunity to help to do that. And again, if in a year it looks like it's in the minutes. I made the point to Jason and to Gina Cron, who was here representing the board. I said, this is a gun you can only fire once, right? I mean, if you take it to the max, there's no one else to go with it. So the pressure's on the organization, the pressure's on the director in order to make sure that they are doing everything else they can in terms of generating other sort. It's $10,000 is a Band-Aid, right? It's a Band-Aid that the organization needs, but it's a Band-Aid. And if they are not able to generate additional sponsorships or find other sources of revenue, well, then maybe it calls into question the viability of the whole thing. But my reason for supporting the increase was to give them a year and a chance to try to do what they need to do to try to get the organization on a little more solid footing than it's been in the recent past.
I mean, I can speak, just to answer Jim a little bit on the council side of things. The money's not really there to give. We are at tight constraints right now to pay what we have. And even with the recent negotiations of our first responders contract, we're gonna be happy to keep them all staffed. Quite frankly, it's gonna take a lot of work next year just to keep that fully staffed the way we want it and the way it should be. Now, it's not to say it won't stay fully staffed, but it's gonna be a big challenge next year if we can do that, to make that happen. I know we've said that already publicly. Just because the money's not coming in. It's not there.
I would point to that if this is really a good project and a worthy project, that's an investment, and that investment will pay itself back. And that would increase the tax rolls. If Main Street's doing what it's supposed to, you're gonna have more businesses in the downtown paying more taxes, and that money is gonna come straight back to the city. So I would say that it is an investment versus a donation. So
Right.
definitely, and so the increase we're talking about here is an investment as well, and it's an investment by the businesses. So my only point is that the businesses are coming forward and saying, we want to work with the city to try and make our community better. And I would encourage the city council to do the same.
I think
Do
if we
whatever
could,
we can
I
to
think if we
improve our
could,
downtown.
I think if we could, we would.
Yeah,
I
no,
know that it's just, it's truthfully, it's not there.
Could I speak to
Yes,
that
go ahead.
too? And again, I'll take a backseat to nobody in this room as far as being an advocate for our downtown and for our Main Street organization. I sound old. I was here in this room the day I sat down with John Schrader, Tim Schrader, Al Evanoff, Jim Van Lannen Sr. and said, the city's interested in a partnership. And are you guys wanting to lead the charge on Main Street and possibly a bid district? And it happened. And those partnerships are important, and they take a lot longer to build up than it does to tear them down. I sure as heck don't recommend tearing it down. With that as preface, when the council a few years ago ended any direct funding of Main Street, there was also a decision to provide dollars that would match dollar for dollar Main Street's downtown facade and signage grants. The $15,000 in grants for 3 facades that Main Street has committed to, the city also has committed $5,000 each on those, and that would be for the White Creek building, for Cool City Brewing, and for the Hook. The city's budget.
But the Lowe's Cheesecake, they do a sign for that.
They got a signed grant. Yeah, I think that may have maybe the city matched on that. And we also, the council has provided grants outside the district, just for example, like with I Lift Coffee and Renee's Chocolates. There's $30,000 in the city's economic development budget for the coming year for like activity. So again, I I'd love to see the city providing that direct support, but that shift was in part to say, we want to be helping we, the city government, we want to be funding direct deliverables back to the businesses, and that's happening. And of course, there's a little $1.65 million project that this council has taken a lead on, potentially if we get the bind up to 550 in funding, 500,000 base commitment. That's pretty consequential for the downtown. So as to the specifics of Main Street's operating budget, true, as stated, in terms of the city government's commitment to the downtown, I don't think it's shrunk one iota, but it's in different areas, and that doesn't help you meet an operating budget.
Okay, we also help with services.
Oh.
When it comes to the parades, for Ethnic Fest,
Right.
for the other festivals
Right.
that I don't think are charged back to Main Street, that would probably equal all of that 10 grand, maybe even more.
Point well made.
Gone in Parks and Rec and DPW shut down streets and so on and so forth. That gets assessed and charged to other events that happen throughout the city, but don't really get charged back to Main Street when they have theirs.
But the budget was adopted Monday night,
Right.
did not include any
Right.
city match for Main Street.
I mean, I know personally, when we run our two events, we pay several thousand. And we don't even shut down the street, but we do pay quite a bit, and I'm not whining or arguing about it. I'm just making a comparison with you guys to know that it's a real cost that we do at no cost back to help the festivals out through Main Street.
So we are where we are. The original bid operating plan says if the proposed bid levy and assessment recommendations for the next year's operating plan are presented to the council, if rejected, they go back to the bid board. Frankly, we should be doing all of this earlier in the year. I think we probably will be next year with our board and our new director at Main Street.
That is on my notes as well.
Yeah, we need to leave here tonight. Doesn't sound pretty to say, but we need to leave here tonight with a bid board recommendation that the city council can approve or nowhere. And, you know, there's $1.42.5, there's $2, there's an array of numbers in between, that's at the discretion of both groups. But a $40,000 hole or $50,000, if you want to call it that, in the Main Street budget is a whole lot worse than a $10,000 hole that we face.
Would it
Right
help
now.
for the bid board to make a motion to reaffirm that 2% recommendation that we made at our last meeting? I would make that motion if that helps.
Do we gotta circle into 9 and 10? Do you have formal items for those?
Yeah. And, yes, if however that is subsequently, and I'm not predicting, I think the city council would do well to respect the bid board's recommendation, but I'm going to vote on this. Understand if the council votes it down, then the bid board, I'm not saying for the bid board not to do that, then the bid board would probably need to reconsider, and then for the council to reconsider, we went through this with the city attorney Monday night, would require a motion to reconsider, made by one of the folks that voted in the majority. There's some Robert's Rules questions, but certainly that is an option that could be dealt with. Whatever the council votes, we have a group of reasonable people all around the table here, which on the two bodies I can do.
We would need to go with a no vote again tonight to make that motion though. See, we struck it down and we are at actually, from council's perspective of refunding that, it's actually at zero because we shut the whole thing down. See, it wasn't on our agenda.
I guess if
Put it back
the
to
bid
budget.
board reaffirmed what they did, the council could either vote it up or down, or you could by no action, oh geez, I'm getting out of my league here, but by no action.
I'm just trying to make sure,
Yeah,
I just didn't know for sure if we needed a no vote to make a motion or not.
there could be a motion for a no vote. And I can get.
No.
I told the city attorney I could phone a friend tonight, but I think otherwise, no action would basically mean the council's action of Monday night stood.
I think you missed what I said.
I'm sorry.
Were you looking for the person from council to make the
Oh,
motion? Somebody that
no,
voted
no.
That's what I was
If
asking.
you vote
That's exactly- I
tonight,
didn't think
this
we
is
had to do
fresh,
that.
it's a different meeting, it's on the agenda. If the bid board, I jumped ahead like I often do. If the bid board were to recommend something that this council again votes down,
Yes.
then we
Yeah.
need to do that malarkey.
Correct, yep. I was under the impression that you wanted that for
Not,
the first one, and I didn't think we needed to
if
do
they
that.
recommend $2 and the council wants to approve it,
Correct.
you're done for the night.
Okay, even though it's not on the agenda, I was asked from someone from the public to speak. I would grant that wish prior to us doing anything as far as making a motion.
Can I just
Yep, go ahead.
jump to that? The discussion item called for both some review of the bid board action and the city council's action that was taken.
Mhm.
I tried to watch the
Sure.
meeting, but the connection was poor at best. I kept having to refresh the YouTube. I guess I wouldn't mind hearing from some of the folks that were against accepting the recommendation of the bid board, some of their rationale for that action before we move on to hearing from other folks.
Sure, and I can kick that off, and then the rest of them can jump in if they like, whatever I missed. So it was voted down, and there was a lot of discussion as to the pros and the cons. I can speak for myself as a supporter of Main Street, but at the same time, I also heard from some individuals, actually an individual, I shouldn't say individuals, an individual who felt like their area was left out of the loop of the rest of the Main Street. And it wasn't necessarily just because that individual, it was because that individual brought it up to me that I took a broader look at what 22nd Street had to offer versus what Washington Street had to offer, and they weren't the same. So I can see his point as to why he was upset with Main Street and having to pay into a district that gets less in one area than it does in another area. I also made a couple recommendations back to Jason, to which he likes a majority of them. And I think that if we get a lot of those to go, I think that we can make something happen. And a lot of those are giving recognition to everyone in the Main Street District for events that happen. So Ethnic Fest, parade, maybe it's a one-time sheet that says, events on Main Street brought to you by everyone. So you would get one, everyone in Main Street would get one. They may not be a direct donor to that particular event, but at the end of the day, they pay dues that allow those events to happen. That was one of them. I got a small list here. Get back to my email. I know Tim had brought up, and I liked his idea, somehow making a banner at the downtown events, something that recognizes the downtown business district as being a sponsor again. So not just them being able to hang something up, but letting them know that, hey, the bid district really put this on. And please go show your support for those people that continue to pay into this program that allows the car show to happen, that allows the test to happen, the parades to happen, and so on. I also told Jason that there's a need probably for more flowers up and down 22nd Street to make them feel inclusive. And with that, it would be very easy to have some kind of a fee, maybe at even each intersection, these flowers brought to you by whoever wants to jump on board with it. It's an expensive project for them that Main Street does, but it's a very beautiful project that makes downtown look absolutely awesome. And I think we want to make that go and continue to get dollars to make it go. And I think with creating the sponsorship of those flowers, we could help that go even further and even elaborate on 22nd Street. I think there's one more. We talked about spotlighting business. When Jason said he did start, he started with Napa, and there was one other one he replied to me with. What was the other one, Jason?
I'm working with the chop.
The Chop Shop. Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have them highlight businesses, because again, sometimes it's just the people on Washington Street that get that credit. And if we can give that credit to Washington Street, 22nd Street, and everyone within that district, I think that helps everyone's support feel valued instead of just taken for granted. I think that was pretty much it.
Well, one thing I would say in just response to that, when you're talking about Main Street, Main Street's the name of the organization, a statewide organization. What we have is a downtown organization, and this is a downtown that's gonna incorporate more than just Main Street. So, I'm around the corner, and sometimes you feel like, well, they don't appreciate me because I'm around the corner. But at the same time, I'm supporting what's going on downtown and revitalizing our own community. So, I don't know, flowers on every street corner on that map would be really difficult because it's a pretty convoluted map. It goes all over the city and backwards and forwards. If you can get the guy coming through your town to slow down a little bit, he's gonna stop at the places that are not on Main Street. So I don't have any problem with the flowers stopping at, at the end of the drive. And Greg has done a good job of coming around the corner a little bit with those flowers, so I appreciate that. I guess my point is it's more of a downtown thing, it's a pride in your own community thing. So I appreciate your ideas though, and those are wonderful ideas. We need to work together to try and promote our city. And the best way to do that is to have everybody speak up and give Jason your opinions and your ideas, and then jump on that and make it happen. So I hold him the task too to make it happen.
I would say though, as you come into the district, they should be highlighted in some way, some way, shape, or form. I mean, you can come in both sides of 22nd Street into the Main Street district, and we're not really highlighted until you get to Washington Street.
Yeah, it's like signage
for
for the bike trail. You put one on the corner by Washington and Memorial Drive, and one by Neshota Beach and Walsh Field. Those are great areas to then catch them and make sure they come down through downtown. That's just one idea of how you can promote your downtown, is to catch the people on bikes that are doing these great bike trails. When they get to the city, they get kind of confused. Well, tell them what to do when they come through the town, and they don't have to just follow the prescribed map. They can stop along the way and support the local businesses along the way, which would include everybody from both grocery stores and lighthouse and beyond.
Well, can we give them that 16th and Road too?
Exactly.
I say that half in jest, but, again, I'm not as a manufacturer that happens to have a property in the bid. I'm not somebody who benefits from Main Street in the traditional sense. And that's something that I recognized when I moved back to town 22 years ago and started working with my dad at Caranet, and it's something that, again, I've in addition to my bid fees that I pay every year, I pay sponsorships regularly to Main Street events. I serve 2 different terms on the board. I don't feel like I get a lot of direct benefit from Main Street by just driving people. People are coming to Caranet on Ethnic Fest and buying basketball nets, right? My support of this organization has historically been because it's a good thing for the community, and good things for the community are good for me, and they're good for my family, and they're good for my employees. And I think that's the perspective that I've always taken when it comes to Main Street. It's not I need a basket of flowers outside my office door, right? It's that I realize that Main Street is doing things that make my quality of life as a resident and citizen of this community, and somebody who is looking to bring employees here and keep my employees here. It gives them quality of life improvements that wouldn't exist without this organization. So that's been my perspective on it in that regard.
Just understand one thing, he's not asking for the flowers. That is correct.
I'm just saying, it's a bigger picture thing, I guess.
Right. And the reason I say it is, and I would defer you from someone else because you don't necessarily have a storefront.
Right.
So the storefronts on Main Street benefit from the beauty of Main Street, where the storefronts on 22nd Street don't.
Understood.
That's where I'm going with that. So anyone else can feel free to jump on it, but that was my thing.
I didn't understand where empty lots, what they got out of paying into the bid district. What do they get in return as an empty lot?
Well, I guess my understanding, I'm not the one that set this up, obviously, but my understanding is that anybody that's a qualified property owner in the bid gets the bid assessment, right? I mean, if I had the opportunity to opt out of it, well, maybe I would. Like I said,
There's residential properties on here that are being charged, and they shouldn't be.
well, I guess if there are, again, in my
They're
opinion,
being used for.
if there are inconsistencies or discrepancies in the way the bid assessment is being applied, those are conversations other than should there be a bid limit, right? If there are mechanical things that are being done wrong, fix them, absolutely. But that to me doesn't invalidate the system that was put into place and has helped this community thrive for the last 6 years or whatever it's been.
Yeah, I think the map, kind of clearly shows that it went like this because there was a business there. It went like this because there was a grocery store there. And it kind of hits most of the businesses in town. And over time, maybe a business turns into a residence. And for that, then they could apply to be taken out of it, I guess. But that would be something for Greg to figure out and more of an administrative thing versus high level. The bid board, we don't talk about that unless you wanted to redraw the whole map, which there's been discussion. There's a couple of businesses that aren't in the bid. Well, the discussion from the board level for Main Street was, well, we could go to those people and have them voluntarily become an associate member of the bid, or a member of Main Street. So that's how that was incorporated, to bring businesses that may have started up that didn't wind up in the bid because 25 years later they're not in the bid. So I don't even think that's necessary. I think that if there's a residence that is being charged a bid, I guess we would probably want to call that person to figure out how to fix that.
Why wouldn't you have had a bid district of people who wanted to be in there? Why did you include?
I don't think there was a stampede of people that didn't want to be in the bid, but it was a cooperative effort to promote our downtown and to be inclusive, to have the local businesses support that downtown.
Right, and when you say you, Bonnie, none of us were there, obviously, this was 1996. When you say you, I think you do that. None of us were there, but this happened in 1996. But again, as Greg explained earlier, my understanding of a business improvement district is any qualified business in a defined area, by definition, will participate in that. And as Greg indicated, at the time, there was public comment, there was no dissent, it was approved and passed, and we've lived with the terms of that since then. Is that accurate, Greg?
I was just going to clarify, and I was here in 1996, but it's still a long time ago. I do recall that at the Plan Commission hearing, there were folks who said they did not support it. There was, however, but as I mentioned, then there's a 30-day curing period after the hearing where folks can petition in opposition. My recollection, there was no such petition. There were people at the public hearing that said, I don't support this, I don't want to be part of it. And it is, I think Jack Bruce replied to me and a couple of council members on a question about excluding people. And there's not really a mechanism for making it an opt-out. You probably could redo the district and redo boundaries. We've talked about that, but it's kind of majority rules and with the city's blessing, using a taxing power to levy a special assessment, and it's not a free will offering. There are mechanisms where this council, in its wisdom, could say, get rid of it, or if property owners whose properties constitute over 50% of the value, I believe, of the bid petition, saying we want to get rid of it, then it's gone also.
Yeah.
Wouldn't this be a good place for funding to come from the room tax? Isn't that for advertising and promoting?
No,
I'm not sure what the mechanism is for that. I mean,
room tax is tourism. Tourism is bringing outside people to our area to spend money. What we're talking about is infrastructure and internal marketing of our community from the inside out. Tourism doesn't market inside your own community and would be best not to run local events in the downtown. What we're trying to do from a tourism point of view is to bring people from 100, 200, 300 miles away to come that wouldn't even step foot in our community otherwise. And Main Street is more, once you're here, more of a quality of life, and you're gonna bring people that want to start a business here and to grow up and have their kids here. So it's more of a downtown community thing than it is tourism. And tourism has its place to bring people to our area, and we would be really in a sad position if we didn't have tourism to bring people here at the same time. But you don't want to commingle Main Street organization with destination marketing organization. There's two totally different things.
Okay, I will let Kurt speak as he has something to say.
As chair of the room tax committee, I think to answer your question, we do have, if you look at the budget, we're
Yeah, I saw.
supporting $12,000. And that's partially due to the fact that the Main Street office is also doubling as a welcome center for tourists downtown. That's how we'd be able to justify it in the committee that we funded this year. Last year, we funded $5,000 because we sponsored some temporary help. This year, we took that number from 5 to 12. But you can't fund it all, to Jim's point. There are other things we need to do with the tourism dollars, or room tax dollars, to bring more people here, which generates more revenue, which generates more room tax, which is why room tax is up 12% this year versus last year. But we are funding it. I don't want you to think room tax isn't contributing. They are. They just can't fund it all.
And since you mentioned that, I see what you mean, because that's exactly what they're being for their expenses for the rent and utilities and stuff.
It's helping cover that. Thank you for letting me speak.
Yep, Darrell also had a point on that. I saw her hand pop up.
Hey, Adam, thank you. You know, and I'm gonna speak about Main Street, who benefits from the collections of things there.
Oh, can you hold on then? Sorry, babe. We should get through the rest of the council stuff. Probably
Okay.
December 5th, and then I'll swing it right back to you to go into that. So are there any other stuff from council Monday night's meeting that you want to share? I do want to piggy off what Tim said. There should be no residential people charged in the bid district because you should be zoned business. If you're not zoned business, you should not be part of that.
Well,
And you don't need an exclusion to get out of that if you are no longer,
Right. Zone business or used as.
or used it, you're right.
Because B1 is either office or residential, and I know properties being used all as residential.
Now, I spied one there on quick review, Tim, that I recognize is 100% residential. We may have some right now that have vacant first floors that are commercial and apartments up. I don't believe that. I may be wrong. I don't think that. For example, the Copper Kettle, it has a commercial first floor that's been vacant for nigh on to forever. And it has residential up. I defer to the city attorney, but I would argue that still is a mixed use property. It's a vacant it's not a residential lower level.
I just happened to see the brown one.
Precisely, that's the same one
I
I
know it's
saw.
all residential.
And you know what, that may, the 22nd Street one, that may well be an error.
And that can get fixed. That's not one of those that have to be.
I just thought, well, if
excluded
there's
for that
one,
reason.
it
They're
might
not
be a good
business.
idea to go through the list and.
Yep. Or you look at the house at the corner of Washington and 22nd that's for sale again on the corner there.
First floor is still.
First, it's own business, the first floor cannot be used for anything but commercial. It happens to be vacant right now. There may, I don't know if there's a tenant upstairs or not, there might be. Inman Jewelers, vacant for a while, new tenant, Lakeshore Rock and Gem, check them out for Christmas shopping. For a long time had a vacant first floor occupied apartment on the second. That would still qualify as a mixed use. Just one more point as far as bid, and I'm not a bid guru by any means, but when the district was created, it was that all commercial properties are included, mixed use properties are included. There could be a carve out to attribute the assessment just to the portion used for commercial. My recollection, the thought at the time was the city assesses each of those as a lump. It'd be awfully hard to try to create an artificial division of, residential value versus commercial. Industrial needs to be specified in the plan when it's created as to whether industrial is included. And the decision here was specifically to include industrial, frankly, because at the time, even Thermo Fisher Scientific, I'll say even, they're gone now. But Thermo Fisher Scientific, Eggers, Metalware, Westrom sat on the first bid board, Karen Knapp, oh Lord, I'm probably forgetting somebody, but all the manufacturers in the district and surrounding the commercial business district said, yeah, we're good for this. So, but on the mixed use, it should be mixed, and we may have pointed to one, I hadn't noticed that before, but maybe an error.
Jeff?
I'll go back to what Jack Bruce had said about 50%. I thought it was 40, but he might be right at 50.
40% can stop it from being created. I think it's 50 if it already is created and you want to eliminate it.
From my understanding, they still couldn't eliminate it. They still have to get approval to eliminate it from council and bid district for.
I believe you're incorrect on that, Chuck.
I hope so, but, yeah, that's kind of what I got out of it.
I don't think it was that simple though, because the people that have more money, people that donate more money to the bid, get a stronger voice than somebody that at the minimum. So they're not even.
Right, it's not.
So it's kind of complicated that way.
It's not like, this is the wrong number, but it's not like there are 99 property owners, and if 50 say I want it gone, it's gone. It's predicated on value. It also is predicated on value as used to calculate their assessment. So you'd have to do a fudge factor, my term, for those people that would be paying more based on their assessed value, but it's artificially capped. So if you're paying the max at $2,500, you should be, your vote, you'd have to be apportioned in that manner. The old statute, this is from the original operating plan, so it may have changed since then, but within 30 days after the hearing, this is the hearing on creation, blah, 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 owners of property will be assessed under the proposed initial operating plan having a valuation equal to more than 40% of the valuation of all property to be assessed. If they petition, that's a showstopper. Later on, a municipality shall terminate a business improvement district, I assume it's already created, if the owner's property assessed under the operating plan having a valuation equal to more than 50% of the valuation of all property assessed under the operating plan, using the method of valuation specified in the operating plan. If they petition, then it shall be terminated. So my read, there's two ways it can be terminated. At the initiative of impacted property owners who tip that 50% value criterion, we'd have to dive deeper on that as to how you count the properties that are paying the max and would be paying more for those that have. Or the council purely in its discretionary authority has the power to destroy in this case, and could, if hopefully, if it judged that to be good public policy.
Didn't Jack also say that individually they could approach the board?
They could always do that, but that would mean making some manner of amendment as to, I think his suggestion was you'd have to amend the method of assessment or the boundaries. I shouldn't speak for the city attorney.
Right, and that's where I said it's impossible for someone to do that because when you're going against a stacked board, it's hard to get out of it.
How's it a stacked board?
Because you have all the people on the board that are getting the most out of it. Now, if you would have.
If somebody who says they're getting nothing out of it wants to volunteer for the bid board, I'll be glad to turn their name to you as a council. I may be being a little flip there, but that's, I don't know.
I want to know what I get out of. What can you explain to me as a business owner and a bid member? How does that impact me directly?
I don't know. I don't have your business.
Yeah, I heard the term stacked board a few times the other day.
Why are you calling it?
Again, I guess kind of taking exception to that.
If you have people there that are knowing, okay, so you're gonna have individual people come in one at a time and say, you know what, I want to opt out, but you guys have to vote on it. If you are getting, and you could potentially lose $20,000 and like that, and still not be at your max where it can go away. Yeah, you get there and say, no, you're gonna lose money. Math 101, you're going to lose the money by them not paying it. The ones who get the least benefit actually presented by Calgary homes.
What we're really talking about here is support of our downtown and supporting downtown growth and improvement of our community. And I don't think any of the board members that I've ever met that have been on the Main Street board have been there to try and make a buck. They're all there to try and help improve the downtown. And from that point of view, there is no stacking of any board because what you're talking about is people that care about their downtown are taking time to volunteer. And that's the other point I would make is that this organization is run by volunteers with one paid staff and maybe a seasonal person to staff on weekends. But you're really talking about a volunteer organization that's volunteering to improve our downtown. And frankly, I don't know why I'm here an hour waiting to find out whether we can just go home and take care of this and keep doing the good things that we've been trying to do.
And again, I guess when you say you're gonna lose the money, as a bid board member, I have no personal stake in any
The
of
bid
this.
district itself will lose that money.
But I have no personal investment in the bid district.
I
I am
understand.
a custodian on a board right now who's approving an amount to be directed toward a Main Street organization. I personally have no stake in this. I have no skin in this game, right? I am not a Main Street business. I have no, this idea of a stacked board is kind of a straw man that, again, I don't understand the logic, the twisted logic that says, I'm gonna lose something. I'm strictly a custodian in this transaction who voted in what I thought was the interest of my community. So this idea of a stacked board is kind of an insult, honestly.
Okay, if, going the other way with this, so you have all the people on that board that are paying minimum, don't even want to be on it. Not board, be in the district. It's gonna go away.
How many local business owners have contacted anybody on the city council negatively about this? One?
Nope.
So you've got
How
one.
many business owners
yeah.
actually know that they're being charged it?
Well,
Because
this
it doesn't
is-
say that
it's been there
taxes,
for-
it says
it's been there
special
for
assessment, it
26
doesn't
years.
say.
This has been in existence for 26 years, and anybody that bought a business in that time period would know that there's an assessment. And I don't know of anyone that I've ever spoken to that said they didn't want to be a part of the Two Rivers Business Improvement District. I wish I could get out of it. Well, I should say, my mom thinks we should pay less, but she says the same thing about our property taxes, and we're one of the largest in there at that as well. But, you know, we all have to do what we have to do to keep our community solid. And we have good infrastructure in the city, and we have good volunteer organizations that want the best for our community. So that's really what this is all about. Are we gonna support our community, or are we not gonna support it? And I think what you're hearing is that the local businesses that have taken the time to volunteer and be on a business improvement district for no other gain other than a sub sandwich once a year, and to get to talk to Greg over lunch once a year, that we're able to do something good for the community. That's why we're on the business improvement district, because we care about our community. And I don't understand why we need to keep talking about that.
And I would add to, the Main Street Board represents probably about, I don't know, 10 to 15 businesses in the bid. The bid board represents another 6, 7, 8, whatever properties. You're talking about representation of 20 some properties in the bid that all have voted for this. We have said, we feel that 20 some businesses, and this isn't surveying everybody, but those that are here have said, we want this. We want the city to simply take extra money from us and pass it on to Main Street. You've got one business, maybe 2, 3 that are opposed to this, who don't see anybody here tonight, they're keyboard warriors that wanna throw stuff out in email, but they're not gonna show up, they don't show up to any other city events to help support. All we're asking city council to do, I assume you're here,
Is the tax the people that,
us,
but you're not, that's,
We are your local businesses.
we are your businesses, you are, we want you to support our local businesses.
a person could, if a person wanted to give more, they could give more.
We're talking about $100. The average bid member is gonna throw $100 in. That's what we're talking about, the 142.5 to the 2 is $100. And if the entire bid does this, it raises $10,000. If a handful of businesses throw in extra money, that $10,000 doesn't get put into that budget to help Main Street. Main Street can't rely on a handful of businesses that are, or even if the majority of us want to throw in some money, you can't budget for that. That's a tough thing. All we're saying is a one-time thing. And we can assess this every year, but the businesses are speaking. If you guys are here to represent the best interests of the city of Two Rivers, you've got a whole bunch of businesses in downtown Two Rivers, the heartbeat of our community, that are saying, we want this to happen. And you guys are standing in the way of that. You guys are standing, it's not taxing the community. And this isn't a tax that's going out of our community. It's money
one bid members that's gonna flow right back to Main Street to do the great things that Main Street does. I have a hard time. I feel like you guys you're not acting in the best interest of our businesses. You're listening to one or two businesses instead of the majority. It's undemocratic, okay?
Maybe, but maybe you guys need to talk to some of these people. And everybody, yes, that's true, there might have been.
Where are they tonight?
No, listen to me.
Hold on, let her finish.
You know what? This may be true that they had a chance not to be in the bid district. Maybe it is true. But somebody who's old isn't gonna come out and understand every letter. I don't remember my father ever getting a letter inviting him to the thing. And like I said last night, if it happened to him, it might have been happening to other people. Nobody wants to not see the downtown improve.
And we should move forward.
What?
We should move ahead.
Hold on.
No,
Let her finish.
no,
Let her
but
finish.
it's just that, I think it's because I really wonder, you guys you're complaining about this, but try to communicate to all these bid members. All of them, there's over 100. And try to communicate with them, that's all. You know, the one who's complaining didn't even want to, he never told me he wanted to be out of it. He just didn't want everything dumped on them. Now, you know what? I thought rent was cheaper when you were in this building. Now, did I misunderstand this? I thought that rent was free.
Rent when Main Street was
What?
in, sorry.
No, I mean for the new building they went into. Did
Oh,
I misunderstand
I see
that?
what you're saying.
I thought for sure someone said that to me, to not me, to the council. And all I'm saying is, what if this year you would have just stayed where it was cheaper until you caught up in your debts? Things like that. I mean, if you're not making money off the events, even a little bit, then maybe you shouldn't do them. To me, this is just more logical, that's all. And I don't know how many businesses want to be in your bid district. I don't want to vote against this necessarily, but at least try to consider it. This person that's complaining is even willing to take a small percentage of an increase. He just doesn't want it all, that's all.
Well, can I just, to clarify, Bonnie, it sounds like in your comments, and I may be wrong, but what I'm hearing is that you're kind of commingling the bid board and the Main Street organization. They're two separate entities. The bid board is not the Main Street organization. The bid board is a group of businesses that literally convene once a year to have a rate assessment proposal presented to it and approve that or not. Literally, that's all we do. So the Main Street organization is then funded by the bid mechanism. And to your point, you're absolutely right. The Main Street organization should be talking to all the members of the bid. They should be having all the conversations that you talked about. And my confidence in that happening with the board that's in place now and the director that's in place now is much higher than maybe it's been in the last few years. But you're absolutely right in that regard. But they're kind of two separate
No,
entities.
I have got them mixed up, I finally have it more straight, but here's the thing too. In the thing, it says all bid members get equal treatment. What I mean by that is, aren't they all eligible for a sign if they want one, for example? And when you said that you want a downtown, you're gonna help them fill it, well, why wouldn't you help any bid member fill their place, or help them sell their place, or stuff like that? This is little, okay, maybe that's this handful that don't count, okay? But then say it. I mean, tell them, come right out and say, we're sorry you're in the bid, but majority rules and blah, blah, blah.
But I think Jason's office is open to any bid member. As far as the Main Street office is open to any bid member to walk in and voice their concerns. I think you feel like some bid numbers are being excluded, and I don't know that that's the case. Maybe something happened 25 years ago, but I think that's kind of, we have to kind of move on. The office, Jason is
gonna talk to any bid member that walks in the door and wants to voice their opinion, he's gonna listen to them. Okay, I don't think there's any special treatment given to any particular
Yeah,
businesses.
I'm hearing what I'm saying, at least we do.
I guess, Bonnie, I appreciate your comments. I want you to know that everybody in this room, I think, wants what's best for downtown. And I don't personally feel that I know of anybody in the bid district that's been misrepresented.
No,
I mean, other than, maybe Main Street should just be Washington Street between 22nd and 17th. Then you can focus just on this little area. But what we have is an even better organization which splinters out and catches all the businesses along the way. It goes around Memorial Drive to the Lighthouse Inn, and it goes down to the Honey Pot, and it goes, and it catches all of the businesses in town. So we are representing the whole community, the whole business community here. And what we're really asking right now is, and I would like to make that motion to support the 2% or $2 per thousand of valuation to show that the local businesses in the room are ready to put our money forward. And all we need is a gavel to say, okay, we support you as well. And I would, in addition to that, I would challenge the city council to put some money behind it as well. Because I really feel that $10,000 or $20,000 is not out of line to support your downtown and to make the downtown more viable for businesses to move into the community and to have more businesses on Main Street and downtown tours. So I would like to make that motion if I can, Greg, to.
So that would be a motion by Mr. Van Lanen on behalf of the bid board to reaffirm or recommend a $2 per thousand assessment rate as 2023 Main Street budget and operating plan, respecting the existing minimum and maximum assessments that have historically been reflected, $100 per parcel, $2,500 per any one owner. That's how I understand the
Correct,
motion.
that's exactly right.
Is there support for that from the bid board?
I'll second.
Supported by Mr. Moore. Discussion among the bid board. They typically meet once a year, so we don't elect a chair. Next agenda, I'll have you elect a chair. Discussion, bid board. Mark?
Again, I think given the fact that the city can't support Main Street, and given, I think, the benefit that Main Street has shown the community, the business owners are stepping up to fill that void. Okay, the city isn't contributing as they have in the past. I know there's in-kind, there's other things that the city's doing. I'm not saying the city has to support Main Street, but that direct donation is not there. The businesses are stepping up and saying, we will help fill that void. There's 20 businesses represented between the Main Street board that made the ask and the bid board. We're all agreeing to pay more into the pot because we think it's a good thing for the city. I feel like you're letting a very small minority, maybe one business, dictate the direction that the city council is taking. And I have a hard time grasping that and understanding why that would be the case. When you've got so many businesses vital to the city that want to help, and I feel like you're standing in the way of that. And I just have a hard time with that. So I just would say, please reconsider those that voted against this. And again, it's one time, it's 1 year. If it falls apart, we're back here next year to look at it again.
Further discussion from the board.
Yeah, I think that some glaring things have been brought to our attention. This is my first, I've been on the Main Street board, but I've never been on bid, okay? So a lot of people have really good points on where we're lacking, or things that need to be corrected, or other things that we need to look at. Which I hope that we can do as an organization, right, or as a board, that we can sit and look at those things so that we can correct where things might not be right. The problem, I think, is that the Main Street organization will not survive without the support. It will not survive without that rate being assessed. So I guess I would like to be given a chance. I know that a year may seem like a lot, but it's kind of not. But now that we're aware of maybe some situations or things that we could correct, or places we could go back and maybe reassess and look at how we can change how we're interacting with the rest of the businesses, then we can correct it going forward. But we have to have the opportunity to do that, and we can't do it without that. Good, right?
Can I ask a question? I don't know if they're discussing that.
I think so.
Let them,
We lost the discussion among bid board before. Mr. Chair.
I can go ahead and ask them a question if it's okay with Greg, because he's their chair.
Yeah.
No, I'm not their chair, I've been the proxy for him. By all means.
He's the proxy.
Right. It's not really a question, it's more of a, would it make sense to put in the resolution that says, in a year, you'll reevaluate it? I mean, it's not in there now, I know that's what you're saying, you'll do this $2 for a year, and then reassess it, and then
That's
and look.
That's our job.
Sure,
That's our
sure.
only job, is to come once a year and ask that same question.
Okay.
I've been doing it for the last 10 or 12 or 15 years. So as my dad retired, I got on the board, and I come once a year, we have a sub sandwich, we shoot the breeze, and then we take 5 minutes and we say, what do you think about the bid assessment? They say, keep it the same as it was. And every year it's the same answer, keep it the same as it was. I was surprised just a couple days ago when I heard that we even tried out. But I do think it's a good idea because we need to support our downtown. So we will absolutely meet in a year. And it's usually the same board, but most of the discussion.
Yeah, to your question, it is an annual, it has to be renewed annually, so I don't know that we need to add it to the language because it's a year-to-year review and a year-to-year assessment, so.
I'm just wondering from the council point of view, would it make those that already know, make them feel a little bit better that yes, they will reevaluate it in 1 year? It's in writing.
I think it's
law.
Bylaw, yeah, it's part of it.
Well, and as some, especially newer customers came to realize, it's kind of zero based. The vote Monday night, no on $2 per thousand, didn't go back to a default of $1.40.5, it's nothing. Just one quick comment, I forget Jim's exact term, but shooting the breeze at each annual meeting does include discussing with the Main Street director and usually the board chair the budget and plan for the coming year. So I know that's just characterization, but I just felt the need to say.
No, you're right. We look at the annual budget of Main Street, and we are able to challenge Main Street to do that.
Yeah. And like either Bill or Mark mentioned, the reason you got a Main Street office on down in the middle of downtown, so it's down Main Street, which is also true, is a direct outcome of sitting down, not with the Main Street board, that wasn't high on the priority when last year's budget was developed, but talking to this totally separate group of stakeholders in the downtown that are the bid board. By the way, we don't have any overlap, because then they'd be probably recusing themselves tonight, but we've never had any overlap between bid board membership and Main Street membership. We have a number of Main Street board alums on the bid board, but we also have 3 of the current members that have, I think, never served on the Main Street board. Joanne hasn't, Tom Christensen hasn't, and Amy McElwain, who's not here tonight, has not. But yeah, so just a little commentary there. Anything else from bid board members or city council members with questions of the bid board before the bid board roll is called to this vote? Hearing none, Jane, would you do a roll call vote for the board, please?
Teresa Cronfors.
Aye.
James Van Lannen Jr.
Aye.
Joanne Kuba.
Aye.
Bill Keel.
Aye.
Mark Moore.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, we are still in discussion as we did not complete number 7 yet. And then I did promise 2 people that they could speak out in the audience, and I will make sure that I honor that. So we will need to just a little bit longer. So Jeff, finish up what you got, and then we're gonna go to the 2 people, I promise.
Back to what you said, one person wasn't one. I talked to 4 people. 3 of them emailed me, and I talked to one individual. All right? So that being said, those 3 people, it was important for them, for me to ask some of these questions. Most of these questions that I'm asking are from them. There's a couple that are mine, but most of them are from them. I didn't get a single email from anybody that was in support of it. So you said, where are your people? Where are your people? It's the same thing. Where are your people to email me? My email is public.
Well,
That's how these other people contacted me.
and I think that's, I understand that, but I mean, those of us, I mean, we're here. We're in support of this. We can go around, I mean, we all just said aye. We all support this in the Main Street people support us. I mean, if you want us to all shoot you an email saying we support this, we can, but we're here.
I can do my own diligence as a public servant. For the people that talk to me, ask the questions that they want.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Now, and some of these questions that they had, here's the biggest one, and some of these I added some of mine in here, but how do you help all participants? I mean, all. I mean, you're talking like Copper Kettle, how's that being helped? China Block, how about the LM&M? A lot of these that are not even there anymore. Look, here's a perfect example. Last year, Fireside, the one bar downtown, they had boiler issues. We as a city couldn't even give them a 3-month extension for a boiler repair, and they had to shut down, and eventually they lost the business because of that. How would you help a business that was coming up with a problem like that? It's part of a Main Street problem.
But you're asking.
Remember, that's a
Again,
bid board.
same as my point before. You're talking about 2 separate organizations. The bid board has really nothing to do with Main Street other than to fund it. That's talking, this is a conversation to have with Main Street, not the bid board. You're kind of having the same confusion that Bonnie had in terms of, they're not the same thing. They're 2 separate entities that serve 2 separate functions. So you're asking the wrong people.
But one did eventually come back to you.
How?
I'm just asking.
How?
Main Street provides a budget to the bid board, which
Right.
they approve, and then they ask for a levy, either the same, increase, decrease,
And they
rate
give it
back
to
to us, and they give it to them after the city actually collects it.
Right.
Our sole function is to designate the amount of money out of the bid that's going to be given to Main Street to help fund their operations. Anything beyond that is potentially the purview of Main Street. I'll tell you the same thing I said to Bonnie before. You're absolutely right that the Main Street organization should be having those conversations with every bid member and trying to add value to every bid member. You're 100% accurate with that. But, and again, my confidence and my trust that will happen with the current makeup of the board and the current director that's in place is substantially higher. We had the conversation about raising the rate last year, and we didn't, based on some of the things that were being done a year ago at this time. This year was a different conversation, a different story. So this is not by any means a rubber stamp, like Jim said, and as Greg explained earlier, this has not changed. It's been essentially a rubber stamp of status quo for a long time. This group this year said, we're gonna do something different. We're gonna try to make a difference positively for an organization that's gone through a couple of tough years. Give them a chance to get where they need to be fiscally in a very, very challenging environment from a cost standpoint, and see where they stand in a year. I again am on record in the minutes as having said that if they aren't able to balance their budget and make this thing work with this additional money, there's nowhere else to go. There's no other money that we by statute are able to approve for them. So if they aren't able to make this happen with the money that they're being that we're approving to them, if you feel the same way, to fund for this year, well, as I said earlier, I think it calls into the question of the viability of this organization long-term, but it feels to me like we need to give them that chance, give them a year to do it, and if in a year they're coming back and saying, we just can't make ends meet, well, that's a whole different conversation in my opinion. Then there's bigger issues there, but in my opinion, the reason I'm supporting this is I'd like to give them a chance to have that opportunity.
Another question that I was that was asked was the director's salary last year compared to this year. Not overall because it was only a partial year. Did you break it up per month? Is it exactly the same this year? Is there an increase? Percentage of increase? That's directly related to Main Street.
Well, that would be a conversation we need to ask a board member, a Main Street.
I don't think what it was last year, the year before matters, you've got a $65,000 budget here, $65,000 expense.
The bid board can answer that because they approved that budget of what you guys.
Yeah, well, we're looking at it at the same time you did. So I'm looking at it, and I saw somewhere in here where it says payroll. Expenses, 65,000. I can't tell you what it was last year, I couldn't tell you what it was 10 years ago, but this year it's gonna be 65,000. Out of $146,000 budget.
I thought going back to what Marge said earlier, there was no increase.
That was my understanding, is that it was flat. If you look at year to date, this year, Main Street spent less on salary than they would be budgeted for next year because they didn't have a director for a couple of months.
And Mark, I think some of that is, they pay people at the office on Main Street to be a visiting guy person, receptionist.
Yeah, there could be some.
So it wasn't just the directors.
Yeah, there's probably some hourly in there as well, but the total for the organization is 65,000.
As
I
a
don't
board
think it
member,
matters to me whether it was 60,000 a year before or 50,000 or 100, but it's 65 here on 146,000.
Kurt may have.
as a board member, Jeff, we're short the director, so we didn't get a director like 3 or 4 of the months. And we did we hired a part-timer to help facilitate, because we moved the offices there. He helped cover, along with the part-time the city funded out of room tax, to help cover tourists during summer. So we had 2 part-timers covering the offices and making sure they were covering events and things that the citizens or tourists were asking questions about. So that's why the number was what the number was, but it was still short because our director was not on the
And to answer the question, the new director's salary, I believe, is the same as.
same exact number as the old director's salary. And we got a better director.
Just for the record too, there is no money budgeted for part-time office staff for Main Street purposes or for tourism purposes in the coming year. That's maybe a separate point of discussion as we go forward, but the number you see for the, so nobody has any misunderstanding, for the 2023 budget for personnel costs does not include anything other than the one part-time, the full-time director.
And one other note, we as a board look at the budget, scrutinize the budget, make sure there's a return on investment, and approve the budget. Then we submit that to the bid board, and they have to say whether or not we can afford to do it with the current levy or not, period. So if there's a question about anybody, anybody in the bid district can talk about the budget, come to a budget meeting, can do it, just like they do here with personnel and finance. They all can have input. If they don't show up or have input, and it's already done, it's kind of like the ship's kind of already sailed. But we're going to be very prudent about what we spend and what our return on investment is. Probably the majority of the money comes from sponsorships, to be honest with you, grants. Very little of it comes from, the minority of the money comes from the bid district.
About a third. I think it's
About
a
a
third.
And one other side note, because we talked about 20 people, I own 5 properties that I'll be paying money for this increase in the bid. 5 properties downtown. So more than just one, I'm 5. My partner's 6. He owns 6 properties. So
It says
if
here,
you don't,
yours went down $600.
pardon?
On the sheet that says that it went down $600.
What went down?
What you were from. That's the end.
I think that may have been based on, I don't know what the assessment was for for Wells Fargo Bank.
No idea.
I mean,
I didn't own Wells Fargo, so if it went down, which is I paid, but I have 5 properties. What I'm saying is, I'm willing to give more money to the city out of 5 properties. If you don't want to take it, I don't have to pay more, I'm okay.
And the other point I guess I would make is that, again, your body, your council has concerns about the the inclusion of members of the bid or Main Street property holders or stakeholders, you have a designated rep on the Main Street board. That's your liaison to have those conversations. It's not us, right? We're the funding mechanism for Main Street. We are not the operations of Main Street. You have a representative, and as long as I've been associated with Main Street, the council has had a seat at that table, as Greg has indicated. So that's, in my mind, the place where a lot of these conversations should rightfully be had, and not at this point.
In fairness to us, we got this budget quite a bit late, and this is the first time it's asking for an increase. Therefore, there are some questions being asked as to why it's being put on. It wasn't just your standard increase where we didn't have the questions, because everything looked like it was rolling as it did before. Again, this budget came to us quite a bit late, and I know that Greg and Jason have worked together to try to make sure that this budget is done quite a bit earlier in the process for next year. Because we start our budget as a city, we're starting this at the end of September, and I think we got this late November, we're voting on it here.
Yeah, that makes good sense.
It's tough, so we didn't have that time to correspond.
Right, and that makes sense. But again, if it sounds, I guess what I'm hearing is that a number of these concerns maybe have been voiced throughout the course of the year. And again, knowing the history of this, you've got a liaison to that organization that, as those concerns are being raised throughout the course of the year, that hopefully you get those answers and it doesn't come down to life or death, literally, of the organization when it comes to funding it for next year.
Any other questions?
On the board of directors, I believe this is for Main Street. You're supposed to have a city council member, which we do. Greg?
Yes.
You're the other. Who is the member of the Historical Society?
They have, in recent years, a year or two ago, said as an organization, they didn't see the need to provide a member, or words to that effect. There's not presently an Historical Society member. So that would have been backfilled with another member. There is not present one.
Do you work with this Historical Society as Main Street?
Yes, very closely.
So is that a question about the Main Street board?
Can I respond?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, just yesterday, the Historical Society president and their new, I don't know if I don't think it's official yet, but an employee of the Historical Society came and met with me in the office. So talked a little bit about their plans for the future, looked around our office, looked at how we complement each other with visitor center activities by referring their people to our office when they're closed, and similarly with us being able to share that they're also a place to get visitor information. So yeah, I think we have a strong relationship with them. And Mark Grants, who's their president right now, he was one of our part-time employees over the summer. So he's gotten to know our organization very well. So yeah.
Wasn't he the interim president or director for Main Street?
I don't know if he had that title or not.
No, he was not.
Right, I'm just assuming something that was him. I thought I heard that somewhere.
He was a person you would find at the office, helping, I think, set the office up and tend to phone calls and visitors in the interim. He was never designated, I'm speaking as one, he was never designated to be acting or interim. He was an hourly part-time employee. Represented the organization and the community very well, as Mark would do, but he was not designated.
Oh, I just thought
acting
director. I just assumed that. So I was wondering why he couldn't have been the Historical Society member, that's all.
I bet you the board would welcome that, but. And as far as just, Jason, if I could, this is just a factual question. Downtown property or business owners on the Main Street board include?
Kurt, Gina, who's next on the list?
Lee Hanson.
Lee Hanson, yeah. Nate Cronfirst, and I'm missing one.
I apologize, there is one more. I know there are
five. I think half of our board are business owners, the other half are picked for.
Emily Ristic and Stream and Comments.
Correct.
Also of the High Lift, which isn't in the district. Yes, Stream and Comments.
We have 4 more, we're putting on 4 more on the board.
Yes, and as we add to the board, some of our new members coming on, Michael Dittmer, has a business, in the bid district, not property owner, but,
It's an office.
he's an office downtown. And we are bringing on a financial person who's an expert with that to help with our treasurer role. So that's Ryan Kauf. Him and I will work very closely together to get our QuickBooks in order, which needs some work. And we're going to try to share progress with the folks. I can get back to you maybe now and then.
But I think basically we have 5 business owners now, we're losing.
Joe,
Joe Baden?
Baden, yes, he has multiple businesses within the bid district, or properties. And then, the last one is still escaping me.
Thank you, I put you on the spot there.
No, that's all right, but the idea is we are looking to, we do have a couple of people on the Main Street board that are not business owners within the district, but that they are on the board for the skill set with which they bring to the organization, whether it be finance or marketing or government.
And one thing, Jason did send out numerous times, all the bid members, if they were interested in being on the board. I talked to several myself, seeing if they wanted to be on the board, who weren't because they're busy with other things. But we definitely set it up. You can make a difference if you're on the board. You guys know because you're on council. You can make a difference if you actually join a committee, volunteer, or get on council.
Yeah, and Jeff, I have a survey for Main Street that we do annually for our businesses. I'd love to provide that for you. It's been in my newsletter that you get. But if you could forward that to the 3 businesses that I talked to you, that would be great, because then they can fill that out and provide that feedback directly to our organization on how we best work with them. So that's something that we're continually doing, is striving to get that information from the businesses, so.
Okay, just got one more question, then we're gonna get to those 2 that wanted to speak.
No, if a business isn't maxed out and you've got multiple properties, you still only pay the $2,500.
Correct. 2,500 is the maximum. Any property owner should pay.
Okay, now, does that work reverse? Say you have 4 businesses that are paying the minimum,
Or subject to the minimum.
are they subject to, are they lumped together?
That's a good question. As it's presently constituted, no. They pay for $100. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that's my understanding, Jeff. No.
That's one of my questions, because that alone doesn't seem fair to me.
Yeah.
I mean, you're living in your top, but you're not living in your bottom.
And a lot of cities do have minimums and maximums. That's an interesting point, though, that you raise.
That's fair. Okay, I'll go to Jim and then to Darla. Jim, if you wanna step on up and you wanna speak whatever words you wanted to speak. Yep, go ahead.
My other question was, the Two Rivers Family Swim Center, needs a the pool hasn't been updated since like 1965. And, for older handicapped people that can't go in there without, having issues, so, it probably needs to be around, that needs that to be like a 0 tolerance, swimming pool, so that they're gonna be able to make all the upgrades they need, and then, like the bathrooms and stuff like that, there's they have that older style where, they don't have like a roof on top of the bathroom, so I think there's a lot of infrastructure that we need to program for the family swim center.
They are out of the district though, by a little bit there. It ends at Forest Avenue, 27th Street, Forest Avenue, where Piggly Wiggly is, and then from there on north, it would be out of the district, unfortunately.
Very good question, though.
Yes.
It warrants someone to try to help you, try and find some funding or some fundraising to try and generate those immediate improvements, because that is a really good community business. So, thank you.
Darla.
Okay, one of the things that draws people to our city and draws them to our downtown, one of the things is events. But for a couple of years, we've been very event heavy, and our focus on businesses has become, maybe backburnered a little bit. That's changing. It's changing rapidly. We're already seeing a change. You have to have a good connection with the people who are paying into the bid, and I think the way the direction is going right now, they're gonna get bang for their buck in that way. Now, if you bring people downtown, let's say for an event, some people this might be their first introduction to Two Rivers, and they fall in love with Two Rivers. They move to Two Rivers, and I think, Jeff, you had said that you and Kathy came for an event, for a festival, and you wanted to live in Two Rivers. Well, you guys are not the only ones. It's surprising how many people from outside have come to our community and they want to live here. So downtown, in order to attract more people, if you have a very robust downtown and it's attractive, that's huge. Art in the community brings in a lot of cash. All right, and you know, and if we are attracting people, then we would be growing our population, which is something that everybody wants to do. And, you know, and that kind of is immediate ROI for the bid owners or for the bid members. But there's also an indirect benefit for people who are in the district. And that's because your downtown is more robust, it's more attractive, more people want to be in the downtown, that your chances of being able to, you know, if you're an owner, to populate those empty storefronts. That is more like your indirect. So you are looking at tenant retention because their success is going to be able to pay for their rent. The building owner is going to have a much better chance of retaining them. And also, your property value is going to go up. So there's a lot of things that are going on in that direction. The other thing too is, like I said, like the focus on the businesses has kind of been lacking, but we are improving on that. And that's very, very important. That's programs. And what's important about that is that we used to be a member of Progress Lakeshore, who's supposed to fill a role of helping small businesses. We were paying right around $25,000 a year. We were not getting an ROI whatsoever. We pulled out. That's a void, and Main Street has fallen or has come in to fill that. All right, by working with the different owners, like I said, the programs, if they have needs, they come in and they see Jason. So that right there is a really good thing for the business owners. And also, as you all know, we are no longer with MABCB, and we used to contribute a little over 52% of our room tax revenues to them. In 2020, that was around $65,000, and then in 2021, which was the last year of the agreement, it was 130 grand. All right, so there's an expense that goes away. I know that the city is working diligently to have a tourism department, but in the meantime, that's another void that Main Street is trying to help fill. All right, and granted, tourism and Main Street are symbiotic. All right, but for now, Main Street really provides a lot for people. So that's just some things I want you to just think about, that it's not just events, it's not just about flowers, which are great because they're going to help us. They're also about us being able to help the business owners, and there should be a much brighter spotlight on that. Thank you.
Can I just make a comment on that, to piggyback on Charles? As I mentioned earlier, I've been on the Main Street board twice over the years, And a real pillar of a healthy Main Street organization is one that engages with its businesses in the types of things that John was talking about. Over the years, we've done things like lunch and learns and educational seminars and opportunities for people in the community, either current business owners who recognize I'd like to do something that I'm not doing with my business now, maybe it's succession planning or those kinds of things, or maybe people in the community that have an idea of something that they'd like to do to come in and look at how do I get some help starting a business plan or things like that. I think, again, a lot of times the focus of Main Street, the most visible things that Main Street does are the events, but a healthy Main Street and a productive Main Street is one that has that kind of engagement. And again, to your point before, Jeff, I think those types of services will be the value add that businesses will gain benefit from if they're not generating, people walking in the door on Ethnic Fest Day or whatever the case may be. So I'm encouraged to hear that there's a rededication maybe by the board and by the director through that survey tool and hopefully being proactive in going out and interacting with the members of the bid and the business owners and the stakeholders in the community to re-engage on that level versus just being the folks that put on a car show or whatever the case may be. I think that's where there's real bang for the buck coming out of a Main Street organization that maybe doesn't get seen all the time. But in my experience is really the thing that kind of drives the value to the business owners and the stakeholders in the organization.
Okay.
Okay, can I-
Yes, no.
Yeah, there was one question, just for clarification on the motions in front of the board. Jim, as the maker, you had recommended, the bid board recommended the $2 per thousand assessment rate. In what I took as follow-up commentary, you said you also urged the city council to consider direct city assistance.
I didn't include that in my motion.
That was not, am I correct?
No,
That was
that
not a part of your
That was a
motion?
commentary
Okay,
that I would still encourage.
okay, that's just a
Even
request
though
for
we accepted the
clarification.
motion.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey Craig, I touched on who the incoming board members are. I got a text from a bid viewer at home, and he reminded me that Stephanie Hunter was the last bid member approved, and she was metalwork.
With metalwork.
So
Exactly.
we're recognizing, and they'll represent metalwork and the homestead outlet, so they'll actually represent two properties within the bid as well, and in two kind of different roles, so it'll be kind of cool.
So with Joe Baton and Stephanie coming on, that's.
Yep. And then Michael Dimmer, so three.
Three.
Yeah.
And Michael, and
Yeah.
to my knowledge, departing board members, Lee at Seeds and Beans would be the only.
Jeff Toschi, Travis Stevens, and Lee Hansen.
Right, and neither Jeff nor Travis own properties within.
So we're making
So
an
it's
effort to
more-
make sure
just-
we have better representation.
Yeah. So just as an FYI, there will be net 2 more board members on that 13-member board that are downtown stakeholders. I just one other comment. This isn't fish or fowl. It isn't in favor or against. A budget's planned for the coming year, and plans change because, a year ahead of time, it's not 2020. Vision is in 2020. The year is vision is in 2020. It's been pointed out the Main Street budget as presented appears to have a built-in $2,000 deficit. Budgeted revenues fall short of budgeted expenditures. I think it's fair to say the board would want to see that righted during the year because seldom does a budget ever come out precisely as does fiscal reality equal the budget. The other thing I would point out, the budget as adopted anticipated the need to pay off a $2,000 balance on a line of credit, which in the board's best judgment might very well be a reality by year end. So far, that has not been necessary, and I understand in all likelihood, I don't want to misspeak, but in all likelihood, it won't be. Okay, fine, that's $10,000. By the same token, there is no part-time money in the budget for the downtown information center function. And Kurt and I will abstain because we're both on the Main Street board when the the Room Tax Commission meets tomorrow to take a final vote on its 2023 budget. But high on that list for me, at least, I don't vote, but would be, we need to make sure there's either volunteers or Jason is tethered there all day long, which I don't think is a good idea. Or other
It has to be,
resources.
it has to be, Greg. We have tough things to do with a very tight
Right.
budget, so.
And the other thing possibly on the ad side would be, I know there's a strong desire to have some new money for facade or sign grants. And so just if somebody down the road says, hey, you didn't have a $10,000 line of credit at year end to pay off, that may not be required in the context of a $150,000 plus budget. But there's some other pretty pressing things that, including getting it balanced, that would spend those dollars consistent with Main Street's mission and consistent with the work it's doing that you already see in the budget, facades and that visitor function. So I just want that out there on the table. Because I don't want to hear about it later.
Okay, I'll just come down on this real quick because I didn't really elaborate on anything, but I think Main Street does a great job. I think the director that's in place is going to do a good job as well. I have full confidence in that, not that I get a vote on it. But I think he's there and is going to do, I think good things are happening already. I think we've seen it. There's so many positives that come out of Main Street, from seminars, the events, to downtown arts and flowers, filling vacancies, which are starting to actually fill up again here in downtown Two Rivers. Several buildings are starting to get businesses in them again. Help for businesses, and the big one that Greg mentioned, and I mentioned in my email to Jason, is facades. And there's some nice work that's been done. There's people's fronts that make downtown look really, really nice. And not that we do the grants because it brings in extra tax revenue, but it becomes an assessment that values their property a little bit higher than what it was before. And that's a tribute to the job that Main Street does, and also kudos to council for matching those grants. I'm okay with going to $2, but I do want to see some of that we talked about, that I mentioned earlier and that Jason has said are things that can get done. And that was to get more stuff on 22nd Street, whether it's flowers at the entrances. As you come in on one side, you come in on the other side, maybe a sign that says, this is a Main Street community. Welcome to Main Street, something that includes them. And Jason has been okay with that. He's been okay with recognizing all the businesses in the BID district as a sponsor of Main Street events. He likes the flower idea, which is good. The only thing I guess that we really haven't hammered out, it's not going to tie me to a vote, but I'd like to put a lot of pressure on for it, is that the side grant come back. I think it was a big deal for people downtown, and the people that got it made good use of it. They spent way more money than I mean, like, I don't know how much it cost them, but it cost them a fortune. And you got to represent it. And it looks,
the invoices.
And it looks absolutely beautiful. I mean, part of Main Street is going back to historical values. It went back to historical values. That's another part of Main Street. And sometimes maybe without that facade grant, we may start to deter people. So maybe it's not this year, maybe it's next year, once you get yourselves out of the hole, that we get back to that. But I think there should be a big emphasis from the bid board to make sure that's included in our budget for next year, and from Main Street to make sure that continues to happen. And I think it's important for our whole community. But I think with those things, we are being more inclusive to everyone that's in the district. It's not gonna make everyone in the district happy, okay? I'm not blind, I get it. But I think some of the things of them feeling left out, that fills that void and starts to bring them in with the rest of downtown, with the rest of what Main Street is. Another thing I floated around, and it actually also came from Greg, was a name change. I'm not tying that to a vote, that's something that should be probably talked about as future goes on, and Jason kind of agreed that in the future, it may need a new name change. Something different that doesn't just speak of a Main Street, and because we are a district, not just a street. And what that name is, I have no clue. It's a rebrand, I guess. Greg's real excited.
I was about to say,
And again, it's not something I'm pushing for. It's not something that is tying me to anything, but it is something I think would be in the best interest probably of Main Street in the future. Whether it's 5 years, 10 years from now, but it's something that, yes, Kurt.
Well, one of the things we have to consider is we're part of a Main Street organization with Wisconsin. And there's that value we get, the resources we can pull from it. Whether it be grants, whether it be education, whether it be tools that Bill mentioned, that are workshops that can help our businesses. So we just gotta be careful if we walk away from being a charter member of Main Street.
I think you can still charter it.
Well,
Could you do business out of it?
it's all serving up, we gotta explore that, because we don't wanna give up what is a little bit of a back end support.
Yep.
Because we feel a name change will do that, so.
Because I know they're not all
I'll be
Main,
quiet.
they're not all called Main Street, they're gonna even Green Bay's and on Broadway.
No, I
mean,
That's where that's a question that I did pose to the board one day and said, this is something we can look at down the future.
In the
down
future,
road.
yes.
But I like where you're going because I don't feel like Washington Street is looked at as Main Street necessarily, you know? If it was called Main Street and running right down the middle of our community, one, you know, that might make sense with branding. Maybe there's a way we could be more of a district area. And so
It's a food for thought, it's something that they're out there to better the organization.
I had suggested that too,
Yes.
Adam said, if you're somebody who knows what the National Main Street Center is and the national recognition of the program, and what Wisconsin Main Street, which does bring a lot of value added through the WDVC, that really means something to be able to see we're a Main Street community. I think for a lot of the members of the general public, it implies, at least, or it's interpreted as they're looking out for the main drag, kind of to some of the earlier ones. So, but I think you have some branding expertise on the current board as constituted. Doesn't mean you change logo, if you like the logo. But branding isn't about logos entirely. I learned something, Kurt.
Go ahead, Scott. Scott had one last comment before we look for a motion.
Yeah, just real quick,
For one then.
I think in the past, and I don't know all the histories and stuff like that, but I think in the past, the Main Street board or the past director, I don't think was the best. Maybe towards the end, I don't know, it's just my perception. But I think that with Jason in that position, I think you have a really good director there. And I think as a council, we have that direct conduit with Jason being on the city council too, that we have them at our fingertips, 3 times a month. So we also have that, and Darla too, when she's on it too. So we have them at our fingertips that we can ask them questions and stuff like that too. So I think from our point of view, I think we just have to maybe ask more questions of the board and just get the answers that we need, so.
Okay, this brings us, sorry, did I cut you off? I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
I'm done.
Yeah, sure. Mr. Chair, in keeping with the city attorney's advice, when you get to the point of asking for a motion, and I just offered this up for the protection of the 2 council members where there's a potential conflict, that would be the appropriate time if they choose to recuse themselves on advice of city attorney. So there, I just drew the bright line again. Back to you, Mr. President.
Okay, Tim, in closing,
I'd
this
just
is
like to
closing.
say, there's a lot of passion about this town in this room. And stuff was brought to my attention, and I'm someone who likes to see everybody being treated fairly, like the old phrase, equal representation for taxation. And we're stuck in a room where we'd like to talk to them, but we're talking to you. And makes stuff difficult. But if by us going, hang on, stop, if that helps, just for doing that for that moment, make them realize that we're kind of serious, that we'd like to see stuff looked at again, or we want people to be treated the same, if that's what it took. And if that's what comes out of it, it'd be a beautiful thing because it's better for everybody. I grew up with, I'd go over and shake someone's hand, but we can't do that in here. We can't even talk to each other in here. We're all sitting here frustrated because we're not mad at you for any reason, but we can't talk to each other. Just like to say, don't hurt feelings. I'm here to ask questions and let people.
It's fair to say that the Main Street organization is on notice, right? I mean, that's a fair takeaway from whatever the outcome of this is, right?
And I think you guys know that too now. I think you guys know that too, so.
Okay, under 11, we are looking for a resolution approving the Business Improvement District levy and assessment rate for 2023 in support of the Two Rivers Main Street 2023 budget and work plan, which was just recommended and voted on by the bid district. The recommended action is a motion to waive reading and adopt the resolution, setting the 2023 Business Improvement District levy and assessment rate as recommended by the BIDC board. No, BID, I'm sorry, I added the C.
Yeah, that's a brand new thing.
Yeah, yes.
There, you don't have to use it, I did use a resolution format that anticipated plugging in the rate and estimated revenue or levy for, as recommended by the bid board. That would be filled in if council approves it to indicate $2 per thousand assessed value to produce an estimated $48,378. The last, now therefore be it resolved, paragraph anticipates the council mirroring what they did. You may want to modify that somewhat, but I encourage you, Mr. President, if a motion could build on what's here.
We can, but I did specify in that motion that we would approve exactly what the bid board made as their motion.
Okay.
But I did reference the resolution, you're right, as well.
You didn't make one.
There is no.
No, I asked for that motion, so if someone says, no,
And this would be an appropriate time for Darla and Jason, again, your call, but I'll point out one more time, the city attorney's recommendation, not Greg's, the city attorney's.
So, just so we understand, the motion that I read to you is mirroring what the bid district approved. Correct. Thank you, Jeff. Second by Tracy. Council discussion.
I just want to, so your.
The motion I brought forth
Is the same as theirs.
is the same as theirs.
In other words, a motion to accept their recommendation. No,
So-
If the mover and shaker could put in there the notes that I talked about, highlighting the email reference to Jason Ring in regards to attempts to get the flowers and signages on 22nd Street, making sure that the businesses in that district are all recognized as sponsors as well.
Help me out, Mr. President, if that be.
And I can forward you that email for your notes.
And I don't think it's your intent, that might be tough as an absolute condition, because Main Street isn't here and acting on this, that Main Street spend it for that? Or is
That is
it more, this is fair warning, if these aren't addressed, it will likely have consequences when this council considers the bid assessment.
Let's put it like that, because you're right, this is the
You can't tell them what to
BIDC.
do.
Yeah, to paraphrase, and please don't put it this way, they'll be held to pay if there's not evidence of working to address these concerns, somebody can put a card.
Even without, Jason had confirmed even before this had started that some of these should happen regardless of before we had this discussion, but I did get it confirmed in his email that is fine.
So that's with the admonition that the council president suggested.
Well, I want to caution, what Jason said to you is not presented to the board.
Right.
The board of Main Street has control over what has to be done out of Main Street. So if they can take that as a suggestion, and we can look at how we do that, but please don't put it in a Jason agreed to it. The board has not necessarily agreed to it.
Yep,
So
it's
I'm just speaking on behalf of the board.
as we paraphrased with Greg, it is a strong push to say that there would be held to pay.
In the context of
Understand.
next year at this time, or hopefully next year in October.
Yes, just amend it to include that.
If
If you're willing to. Tracy, would you be okay with that?
Was that meant to say they'll be held to pay?
Well, I don't think I'll put it to held to pay. No more notice.
So the motion, as it's presented here with the appropriate numbers filled in, consistent with the bid board's recommendation, but I'm hearing, I'm sorry.
Best efforts to get that done.
With the expectation that best efforts will be made to address the additional priorities or activities as identified by the council president in his statement, which included making best efforts to provide for some manner of facade and sign grants, identify major entry points to the downtown business district on 22nd Street, and direct individual businesses
Could
as
I add
supporting.
something?
I'm just reading. I'm sitting down, you can offer an amendment to the
Because
motion.
I would like to make sure that you would inform all BID members, just even an update. Here's what you get as a member and blah, blah, blah. I mean, you know, like you guys were saying things of all you have to do is go do this, do that. Well, how would you know that if you're not?
You would have to go to the Main Street office and talk to them.
What?
You'd have to go to the Main Street office and ask them, what are you doing for me lately?
No,
Then
you're not
Jason can have that
understanding me.
conversation.
He does
I
send,
mean,
he sends an email,
Huh?
he sends a weekly email to everybody that he has an email address for.
What I can.
Would it be helpful to have like a contact point on for?
Why are you all talking? Aren't you understanding what I'm saying?
Okay, I think what we can do to solve that issue though is speak directly to Darla and to, and you know, Jason, thank you, as I'm calling him, Jason, and assure him, and I think we can do that.
I'm telling the bid board too, otherwise they'll vote no.
Yep.
And I would have felt better if you would have said, raise it, I just gonna say, raise it $1. And if you guys did this stuff and kind of fixed it, because I like your idea of mentioning other businesses, we'll raise it $1 next year. I would have voted for that. I'll probably vote for this, but I'm just saying,
Okay.
sometimes you know.
Tracy, you're good. Yes. You're good to second that? Perfect. Any further council discussion?
And that would be characterized as Main Street making increased efforts for outreach to all
Yeah,
property owners in the district.
Be surprised, I understand.
Okay, see no further, yes, you got a discussion.
Okay.
We need to be real about this because if it goes to 2%, it's not coming back down. We all know that, that's just a given. You can, 99.9% sure it's not coming back down. All right. And not only that, there's things in here that we do have overlaps with what Main Street provides for the city. If I'm not mistaken, we have a special event coordinator in Park and Rec, correct?
Their events though go to support Main Street.
I know, I'm just saying,
The special events that private citizens hold throughout the city go to their individual clubs or whoever they represent. There's a difference.
but yet there's a lot of similarities.
Not really, because they do theirs as fundraising for their own.
Disagree, but you know what I mean, because it's still very small, very small.
But how would a outside guy, I'll throw myself there, me. I'm not a bid, I'm not a member of the bid. How do I go there and have their events coordinator take care of me? I don't pay into their system. I don't have no business going in there and having them do anything.
I know that, what I'm getting at is, we should look for maybe down the road to combine everything into the city. Because, all right, what's another one of them? Basically, part of Jason's job is a community development director, or not director, but a community development person for the Main Street.
For the Main Street.
Which Elizabeth also does, and that's what I'm getting at. There are overlaps in this.
No, there's not.
His is strictly Main Street.
Yeah, he's
I know that, but there's still overlap.
obviously.
I guess, Jeff, I'm not gonna disagree semantically, there may be some economic development role for Main Street. Main Street, even within the Main Street district, Main Street could not apply for a $250,000 WEDC grant for a new hotel or for Pool City Brewing Company. Main Street has no authority when it comes to creating TIF districts or TIF plans or the development agreements, which sometimes are 30+ pages related to TIF grants. And we don't want Main Street doing that. Thank you. I don't think the council would want. So there may be some overlap because we both can bring something, the city and Main Street can both bring something to the table.
with somebody downtown, Main Street with City Hall was giving a $10,000 side grant, 5 + 5 to the hook. The BIDC, which the city staffs, because it's city loan money, just approved a $100,000 loan to that business. They're both part of the picture, but I would say, I'm not being argumentative, but it's not duplication. It honestly is. It's the same way with the Park and Rec Special Events Coordinator, that's for city special events, 4th of July fireworks, concerts at the beach, neither of which is in the bid district. The downtown concerts in Central Park, those are all, I'm not gonna say city sponsored because often it's fundraising from the community. Main Street, hopefully Main Street figures out ways to capitalize on those events. Those are not Main Street fundraising events. And in fact, if we actually turn a buck on things like beach concerts where, as you know, the city's getting into selling beer and wine coolers, that tastes, whatever, malt beverages at the beach. And the turn a buck, that goes into the special events fund. So similar, but not duplicate. I would argue not duplicate. Respectfully.
I would agree. I understand what you're saying, is they're both trying to make tours better, but one is the whole city, and it can't do everything that the other can do. We can agree to disagree, that's overall. Any other council discussion? See none, Jamie?
Jeff Talby,
No.
Tracy Coach,
Yes.
Bill LeClaire,
Yeah.
Tim Petrie, that's an aye, correct? I'm just making sure. Bonnie Shmulus,
Yes, but you better start informing your kid members.
Scott Steinmesser,
Yes.
Adam Leskey,
Aye.
motion carries 6-1.
Thank you, everybody, for
Let me
the,
advise the other two folks.
yes,
to come
you
back.
can do that. Well, I thank everyone for the positive discussion. Hang here, bid numbers. I'm not sure what number 12 is for, if that's for both of us, one of us, before I can get it adjourned out here. I don't write the agenda. I speak it to the best that I can, and that's not always that good.
Thank you. Thank you for spending the time coming in.
Yeah, sorry it took so long. I trust me, Jamie will tell you, I try to hustle this along the best I can. But everyone's got to speak. That's what we got to do.
Next time, just ask Adam what time you think we'll get.
That's never the right thing. I try to say 7:30, we're never on here by 7, we were one time. Hey, one time, we were one time. One time.
You're 1 and 12.
That's Earl. I got an average.
What's that?
Greg, who's number 12 for discuss possible future meeting to address continued?
This is just my humble suggestion that,
Are you looking for?
is there a consensus, would it be well, in the dismal 12 months of winter that lie after the holidays, to have, and this can be discussed at the Main Street Board separately, but to have some, we're here tonight and have had more discussion about cooperation on downtown and how important it is than we have in years. I don't recommend coming to that discussion again this way, I really don't, but,
I'm open to it. I just didn't know if you were looking for the bid to get together by themselves or if you're looking for a collab.
And should that start as, it's gonna be an open meeting of the 3 years, but there's also a public forum, and that by that, the public that pays the bid levy or the general public here, I'm just suggesting, what do y'all think? This all started as a good thing, it still is a good thing, it's kind of appeared a little dastardly, in some of the discussion of late, and we don't have a lot of good things going on in our community. And it seems we need to do a better job of all. Not that everybody has to agree and have a kumbaya thing going on, but we need more dialogue. And maybe it also is a chance on babbling, but for Main Street to say, we heard concerns from council, and it's now February, and no, we don't have flower pots hanging on 22nd Street, but there's progress being made.
I wouldn't think it would hurt. I think it would be beneficial because we don't want to come into this room and have to argue. I think we want to have civil conversation. And we were fairly civil tonight, but I would rather have everything, everyone out on the table and being open and not
As a bid stakeholder, I would encourage Main Street to, again, recognize the conversation that's taken place around this process this year, and again, take that to heart. Having an open forum or some sort of a way to, again, make sure that everybody
voice needs to be heard is heard, so that when it comes time to fund this organization every year, it's not controversial, is certainly in Main Street's best interest. And I would expect that that was heard loud and clear through the course of this process.
Not for me to say, but I'd love to see the Main Street board shoot that over and say, Dean's there.
100%,
But
that's where it should
this
come
body and the council saying, you know what, our downtown is important enough to us that we'll buy in and we'll be there.
Right, I think the bid membership should be invited, I think the council should be invited, but that needs to, in my opinion, needs to come out of the Main Street organization in recognition of some of the conversations that have taken place in this process.
So if we want to get something set up, maybe for late winter, early spring, I think that'd be a good time to start digesting and then obviously get this process done a little bit sooner than what had happened this last year.
That's a learning curve by the new
Yep.
executive, so,
There is no fault.
lessons learned here.
Nope.
And we had fallen into a long time before that, you know, at best getting the bid board together in November, tail end of council budget process. It doesn't have to be that way. So thank you, that's all I wanted. And
Do you
I
need a
think
motion
we got
to
three
adjourn?
Main Street members who will carry that message forward.
Did you need multiple motions for both boards?
Van Lannen, supported by Keel, all those in favor on the bid board? Aye. Thank you, you're adjourned.
Council, motion to adjourn. Tracy, second by Jeff. Council discussion. See none, all in favor? Aye. Thank you and good night.
Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Thank you guys for coming. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.